Welcome to the City Manager's Report. The City Manager's Report, a look at city updates and municipal news, and a preview of the next Oshkosh Common Council meeting agenda. Your hosts, Emily Springstroh of Oshkosh Media and City Manager Mark Rohloff.
And thank you for joining us on GovTV for your City Manager's Report, your source for the latest and greatest local news and updates here in our city of Oshkosh, as well as a preview of the upcoming Common Council meeting agenda. I'm your host, Emily Springstroh, joined as always by our City Manager, Mark Rohloff. Welcome, Mark, to the first show of 2018.
Great to be here, Emily. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, too. So we're happy to be here for the first episode here in January. We're going to go ahead and dive into the hot topics for the first half of today's show, like we usually do, and then we'll take a little break and return with a preview of the Common Council meeting agenda for Tuesday, January 9th, 2018. So, Mark, very first topic that we're going to talk about here is the new ice rink that has just been installed about a week ago. It's officially open.
It looks wonderful. Right down there at Riverside Park near the Convention Center. It's a great partnership between the Oshkosh Area Community Foundation, the city, and the Convention Center. And there's some nice little photos, some aspiring figure skaters from the 2032 Olympics or something like that. It's really great to see people already starting to use it. But it's something that people have been asking about for a long time. Something that they can easily get on and off the ice without venturing out into bodies of water. And people do have a little fear of being out on some of the larger bodies of water, and obviously you're not going to fall through much of a few inches of ice. Sadly, the weather has been perfect for ice skating because it's been so cold. The water is doing real well, and that's always a fear because the winter can get a little mild, but it's been cold enough and the ice is nice and firm, and we really appreciate the partnership that the Community Foundation has they've funded everything. Mm-hmm. Our folks are out there helping to freeze the ice, but after that, it's just everybody enjoying themselves.
Yes, it's been really interesting to see it all kind of come to life down there, and I know it's going to be evolving as time goes on, adding the different things like music to be playing while people skate and other little fun things going on and events down there. So stay tuned to the Parks Department's website and Facebook page for that.
It's a great way for families to enjoy the downtown and just see what else is available, and I'm looking forward to that. I think it's just another example of things that we're doing to make downtown Oshkosh more family friendly. Yes,
getting people downtown, especially during the winter months when it tends to slow down a little bit, which is great. So the official ribbon cutting is January 19th. More information on that to come as well, so we'll keep you posted on that. Speaking of cold weather and the ice rink, there are a few little tips and tricks and some information that we want to get out to the public about that, Mark, with freezing pipes and things like that. It's been really cold here in Oshkosh.
Our water distribution folks are wonderful, and if there's any problem, they will be out there to help you. But the best thing you can do is try to avoid having any type of thing like that. We are not in a position that we have a problem just yet, but if you do have a problem, call our water distribution center after hours, 236-5165, and we'll dispatch somebody out there to see what the problem is and see what we can do to help you. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's your own property, and that's why we want to give you some other tips, because if it's our frozen the laterals are city property, we'll take care of it. If it's your own property, you have to take care of it yourself. And
right.
Just so that there's currently no run water order. And sometimes when it gets really cold, like it did, I believe, in the winter of 2014, mm-hmm. we encouraged some people to run their water because we had a lot of frozen water pipes.
Right.
And unfortunately, we can't adjust your water bill, so you don't have to run the water right now, but we let people know that that's a possibility down there.
If they do, we'll let them know.
But there's plenty of ways you can do to avoid these types of things, and really it's making sure your pipes are in an area where they can stay as warm as possible. And so any pipes that are near the exterior walls, those are the ones that are at most risk of freezing. So we suggest if it's a crawl space, get some heat down there. Basement, as simple as leaving your door open to your basement. Mm-hmm. Or cupboards. If you got cupboards, leave those doors open so that they get the air of the entire room, not just concentrated. So if you can do those things, you're really going to put yourself in a position where you're not going to have to worry about those things.
Yes, and it's important to note for basements too, and our water distribution folks have told us they get questions if their basement is finished, do they need to do that? Even if your basement is a finished basement, that doesn't mean that the pipes on those outside walls are heated. So make sure to either vent or open up a couple ceiling tiles so that air can reach those pipes.
All those little things. We hope we never get a call, but just in case, it's a good thing to follow.
Until then, we'll keep our fingers crossed that it starts to warm up above zero.
Yes,
every
well,
now and then the rest of this winter.
Spring's coming sometime.
Exactly. So thanks for the update on that, Mark. Moving on, a really cool update that we're very excited to unveil. Still early on, but we have a new survey tool for our residents to give us input on different things that are going on in the city. It's called Palco. Tell us a little bit about this new tool, Mark.
Well, I met these folks about a year ago when a group out of Milwaukee that was encouraging startup businesses, and Palco was a startup business. And what they do is they serve local governments, and what they provide is a mechanism to improve citizen engagement through survey tools that they have created specifically for local governments. They made a pitch to me about a year ago, and after a while we looked at it and said, what applications could we have to improve citizen engagement? And there's a few things coming up that we said, you know what? This could have some long-term applications, not just short-term. So we signed on, and as of January 1, we're members of their service. And the idea is to get input from the public on things like development, quality of life, strategic planning, all those types of things that now residents will have a way to provide us with this information in a more live or current type of mode.
Exactly. And it's interesting to see something like this come to life because the former way of collecting public input is to have a meeting. And you think about it, and at these meetings that they're great to get public input, but oftentimes you don't get as many people there as you would like. So this is a whole new opportunity to collect even more opinions.
You're right. I mean, we can check things off on a list that, yeah, we had a public meeting.
Right.
But if you have 3 people at the public meeting, what have you really gained? I mean, it's almost like you're paying lip service to citizen engagement rather than actually doing something. And people are busy. It's cold, as we mentioned, or people are busy with their kids' activities and things like that. And the idea is that you register once in the system. You'll stay anonymous to us, but Palco will have your information, so they'll have your demographic data so that the next time you sign on to a survey, you don't have to fill out any of that stuff. It's already there, and they'll be able to give us profiles of here's how different demographics think about a certain issue. But we can see some real applications, and the first one we plan on using is what to do with the remainder of Lakeshore Golf Course now that we're looking at selling a portion of it to Oshkosh Corporation. What would the public like to see? So we're going to be discussing this at our Parks Board meeting this Monday, January 8th. Palco will be there to talk about how they can make this become an effective tool for the Parks Board to get some good information on what the public would like to see. So we'll design a survey based on that. So stay tuned. It works real well with Facebook and other social media, and so you can automatically sign up if you're on Facebook. There's a lot of easy ways, but we want people to sign up so that if there's a survey and you want to give your 2 cents worth, you'll be able to give it really fast.
Yes, we're so excited. It's not live yet, so have a little more patience for a little while longer, but it will be kicking off in January. And like you said, we're going to kick it off with the use on the Lakeshore items, and then there's going to be a lot more after that. So.
And I'm going to talk a little bit more about it at Tuesday's council meeting.
Yes.
And even between now and then, we might be able to get things going a little more. So yeah, stay tuned, and we'll get this on live for everybody to enjoy.
Definitely, very exciting. Moving on, it is that time of year. The deadline for council papers has passed, and we've got one new person that is going to be running for Oshkosh Common Council and 3 incumbents.
Right, 4 people will be running for council. Challenger Matt Mugerauer, and then our incumbents, council members Pansky, Palmieri, and Herman. They'll all be running, but because there's only 4, there will not be a primary for local elections.
Right.
However, there will still be a primary because the state Supreme Court, there are 3 candidates, and they have to narrow down that to 2. So there will be a primary election on February 20th. So be on the lookout for that, even though it's not a council race. Every office is important, so keep that in mind. And then the general election, at which the Supreme Court finalists will move to, as well as these 4 candidates we just mentioned, as well as any other local races, school board, county board, things like that. That'll be on Tuesday, April 3rd.
Yes, so mark your calendar for those elections. Like you said, even though there is not a local primary, it's still very important to get out there and vote. So moving on to our final topic for the first half here is Christmas tree collection. It's also that time of year. So just putting out the reminder that Christmas tree collection does start on January 8th. It's on your regularly scheduled garbage collection day. And it's just important you see the bullets. Don't leave decorations on, don't leave stands on your trees, don't leave your artificial tree out there. Those will have to be put into your garbage bin. Just all the basic things every year. So January 8th to the 12th and January 22nd through the 26th. If you miss those days, you can always drop it off at the Yard Waste Collection Center on West 3rd Avenue. You do need a permit to use that site, though.
Right, and that's a new, the new year, so you got to get your yard waste permit.
Correct.
Yard waste is not just for summers. So if the first thing is your tree, just stop by City Hall. Kits and File has them, and you can get your new sticker. And you just reminded me I got to get mine. So yeah, go ahead and do that, and you can drop it off that way if neither of those dates work. But it's your regular garbage day. Just put it out next week or the week of the 22nd of January, and you'll be fine.
Yes. So more information on the city website, or if you have any questions, just give City Hall a call and we can help you out. So now it's that time of the show where viewers have the chance to ask their city manager anything they want about things that are happening here in their city of Oshkosh. It's time for Question Mark. Let's see what the question is this week. All right, so question mark is, why are 2 TIF districts being proposed near the new Oshkosh Corp site?
Well, this was a combination because we got a lot of questions on social media from people about different things associated with Oshkosh Corp, and the Plan Commission just discussed this the other night. So we kind of manufactured what the question was because there's so many things going on there. But we're doing 2 different sites for a reason. Number one is we want to make sure that we separate what's going on with Oshkosh Corporation and what's going on in the greater area that is largely due to Oshkosh Corp, but not directly due to Oshkosh Corp. So we originally had thought about just doing 1 site. The area that we have in question is going to remain the same. It goes down Keller as far as the former Kmart site, goes all the way up to Oshkosh Avenue, goes into the portion of Lakeshore that includes the portion we're selling to Oshkosh Corp, and continues along Oshkosh Avenue all the way over to Sawyer Street. So that's the area that we had planned, as we were doing this, we planned all along. But we decided to split it into 2 because there are improvements that we would really like to see as a result of some of this development along Oshkosh Avenue, but we really can't do it until those areas get sufficient tax base to fund those projects. Meanwhile, we do have some incentives for Oshkosh Corporation, and we want to make sure that is isolated for them. So I think it'll make it easier for us to separate those 2. Each district will have to be successful on its own laurels, which we'll be able to do. Oshkosh Corporation has a minimum value that they're going to have anyway, so they have a guaranteed performance provision that we will eventually put into their contract. But meanwhile, these other things, we know that there's interest generated out there along Oshkosh Avenue. We may need to do some things along Oshkosh Avenue because of what might happen with some of this other development.
Right.
So we got to plan that. And then the biggest project that we've envisioned for this, and I think almost universally people in the city want to do something with that intersection of Sawyer and Oshkosh Avenue.
Yes.
It's a mess,
I
no
agree.
question. I agree, you agree, we all agree on that. So what we want to do, and that's going to be a very expensive project, that's going to be $5 to $6 million. So we need to make sure that we have sufficient tax base built before we can even talk about that. So we're separating those projects from the Oshkosh Corp project so that we know that when we've got sufficient tax base there, then that'll trigger our ability to do those projects. So they're going to have to to be based on their own merits. And so that's how we're approaching this.
So you mentioned that Oshkosh Corp has its own TIF area district. Besides Oshkosh Corp, will any other part of the Lakeshore site be involved in that, or the remaining land of the Lakeshore be involved in that?
No other Lakeshore land will be included in a TIF, primarily because public land has no value in terms of taxable value, so it doesn't add anything to the TIF anyway. And we want to make sure that people understand, we want to do a survey. What do you want to do with the balance? You want to keep it a golf course? You want to do something different? Those things will not result in taxable value, so there's no sense in adding them to the TIF district anyway.
Definitely. Well, a lot of really good information and a lot more to come on this topic, even in the agenda as well. So thank you for that. And it was a great question this week to kick off 2018.
There you go.
If you'd like to send a question to us or to Mark, you can post it on our Facebook wall at the Oshkosh Media Facebook page, send it to us on the city's Twitter account, or go old school. I guess at this point in time, email becomes old school. @ci.oshkosh.wi.us, and he'll answer it on the next episode of CMR. We're going to take a quick break here, and when we return, we'll dive into the City Council meeting agenda for Tuesday, January 9th, 2018. We'll be right back.
When the sky turns gray, rain becomes ice, and temperatures continue to drop, you'll ask yourself, how prepared or unprepared are you? Did you winterize your home? Remove the leaves from the gutters? Insulate and caulk so you're less likely to shutter? Does everyone in the family know the winter weather plan? What to do, where to stay, and how to get in touch? Are your emergency kits ready? Is your radio on? Once the snow and ice starts and the temperature drops, stay where you are. Bring Fido in. If the power lines snap, you've got to stay warm. Dress in layers. Wear mittens and a hat. Do what you have to do. But never, ever do that. If for some reason you get stuck on the road, make sure you're prepared. Know what to do if this happens to you. After the storm has passed and the roads are safe, restock your emergency kits. Another storm could be on its way, so before the sky turns gray, rain becomes ice, and temperatures continue to drop, get prepared, make a plan, and figure out how you're going to stay safe and warm. America's Prepare-a-thon. Be smart, take part, prepare.
Welcome back to City Manager's Report on GovTV. Thanks again for joining us. Now it's that time of the show. We're going to take a preview of the Common Council meeting agenda for Tuesday, January 9th, 2018. So Mark, the first highlight that we want to talk about here is actually a special event. So new year, a whole new group of events coming through the agendas here, and the one that we are going to talk about is the Otter Street Fishing Club's winter fishery.
A great event, and it's going to be running from January 31st through February 3rd. And this also kicks off the council doing all the approvals of the special events for the coming season. So we figured this was a good opportunity. It's a great event, great for the community, brings a lot of people in. It's very exciting, especially if you like winter weather. If you don't like winter weather, maybe it's not so good. But as you can see, we get a huge turnout for this event, and we love to roll out the, I guess, the white carpet for this one, and certainly invite people to Oshkosh. But shows you why we're the event city. If we can have people come into Oshkosh in this weather, they'll come for a lot of different events.
Exactly. We're looking forward to it this year, January 31st through February 3rd. Moving on, under new ordinances, we have one here dealing with 9th Avenue, the removal of parking on 9th Ave between Ryko and Knapp. So this is going to be changed to a 3-lane. Maybe kind of go into a little bit of detail on this and the reasoning behind it.
Well, there's been a lot of confusion out on 9th Avenue because some people think it's a 4-lane road. And technically it's a 2-lane road with parking that's allowed during certain times and at other times. We took a look at the traffic volumes, and even though there's a pretty good traffic volume, It's more comparable to Murdoch Avenue, where we went 3-lane a couple years ago. And between Rykow and Knapp, we're proposing to make it 3-lane with a shoulder similar to Murdoch, so people understand that wide stripe on either side, but a lane in the middle for dual turn lanes so that people turning can get into those side streets in a safe fashion. And the volume really drops as you go east from Rykow to Knapp, and it demonstrates the number of people that are making turns out onto those different streets, whether they're going to the schools over there or just trying to get on North Sawyer or something like that. Those are areas that we feel are appropriate to make it a 3-lane road, and we feel that the traffic volumes aren't overly excessive, that we'll have a problem with that. So this is the start of the process to do that.
Excellent. Moving on, 2 items after that item, and it kind of looks like a misprint or a reprint. It's the exact same wording, amending the penalties for possession of marijuana for adults. So tell us about this. 2 suggestions from council members, kind of going to be discussing what those each entail.
In the aftermath of the petitions that were submitted, even though they didn't qualify for a mandatory referendum, the council said we are at least willing to discuss possible changes to the ordinance, which is their option at any time. At the last meeting we had in early December, the council identified 2 possible options. One option is to have 2-tiered based on the level of how much marijuana is possessed. Another one, simply lowering the fine to a lower amount from the $325 down to $200. Those 2 options were basically thrown out there at the last meeting, so we're presenting both of them, and the council can then decide if either of those options are something they want to pursue, if they want the status quo, or if they want to change to something else. And the idea behind it is to give the council an opportunity to vet these out. Certainly people will likely show up who are passionate about the issue. It's a controversial issue. A lot of people have different opinions. We're certainly going to offer our perspective in terms of us being able to enforce it from an operational standpoint, and we'll share that information with council as well.
Great. So looking forward to some great discussion during the meeting on this. Following that, we've got approval of creating a premier economic development district, and kind of tell us where exactly this is going to be and what it's going to do.
This actually got started over up in Green Bay. They created a premier economic development district. They had the state allow these because they were running out of liquor licenses up around Lambeau Field, but they made this available throughout the state. Has to meet the similar criteria, has to have a high volume of value, about $20 million, as well as a decent size, enough size area that would warrant having the need for additional liquor licenses, and that's the whole purpose of this. And since we are envisioning an entertainment district of sorts along South Main Street, and we're running low on liquor licenses that are available, we want to make sure that as development occurs here, that some liquor licenses would still be available. So the first step in that is to identify a premier economic development district. The state would make sure that we followed all the rules, and then we'd have 2 liquor licenses specifically for this area in question. And the area in question, we had to make the borders meet state law, but essentially it's the Sawdust District that we advertised earlier. So you can see the graphic. It's mostly going up and down South Main Street, mostly the east side of Main Street, but you can see a few areas on the west side, and snaking its way over to 6th Avenue and whatnot, but pretty much that area. Does not include the Pioneer because that really wasn't necessary, but you can see that it's that large area, and as things redevelop there, we'll have these 2 licenses available. Should an establishment that needs those come up, we'll be able to accommodate those districts. So that's the whole step in the first step in the process to get these additional liquor licenses.
Well, we're looking forward to a lot more opportunity out in this area, and we've already seen it growing and people going down there even more often. So this should hopefully facilitate more development in the Sawdust District that we've come to love already.
You got it.
Moving down here, we've got 2 ordinances that we're going to discuss together. First one is creation of a section for a corporate business park district. Maybe can you explain to us what exactly this is, what the standards are, and how that will all work, Mark?
Well, during the discussion of Oshkosh Corporation, we identified a need to have high-level development, and we Oshkosh Corporation that's their expectation, that's their goal, and it's also our expectation. So this was mutually agreed to by us as we had these discussions. The idea is to allow their type of use they want for a corporate global headquarters, but at the same time raise the bar and raise the standards so that it's a high quality. And then also the areas surrounding it has a similar level of high quality. So the idea is to create a brand new district that doesn't exist currently. We have commercial districts, but this is a higher level, and we call it Corporate Business Park. And then once we've created that district with those higher standards, which virtually everything will then become a conditional use, everything will have to be permitted by the Plan Commission and the Council, and so it's going to require a higher level of review. So that's what we want to do. And then the second action here is to identify those specific areas, and essentially it's that part of Lakeshore that we're selling to Oshkosh Corp, along with all those areas that we talked about in that TIF district up and down Oshkosh Avenue, so that we identify those areas. So people buying it on speculation, you can speculate all you want, but understand that we're going to have expectations that are very high for that area, and everybody will make money eventually, but you've got to follow a different standard than what you've been used to in the past. It's a gateway area. I think it's appropriate.
Definitely. And I have to ask the question, what about the balance of Lakeshore? Does that have anything to do with any of this?
No, because there's no need to rezone that, because it's going to remain in a green space park type of event, regardless whether it's a golf course or other green space. It's going to stay that way. There's no need to rezone that property either.
Excellent. And then that leads us into the new resolutions, and that is the approval of the agreement for purchase and sale of property with Oshkosh Corp for a portion of the Lakeshore Municipal Golf Course. So when do we anticipate this land sale to take place?
I anticipate it'll happen sometime in the spring. The whole idea was to get the zoning in place and then the terms and conditions for the sale, but there's still a lot of conditions that have to be met, and those are going to take a couple months to still work out. But if Oshkosh Corporation wants to break ground in the spring, we need to get the sale approved by the spring. So the council will approve it, and then all the conditions and all the due diligence that's required to get those things going, we'll work on that through the winter. It's cold. We have nothing better to do anyway. So we'll get all those things done, and by springtime we'll be able to sell it to Oshkosh Corp.
Excellent. Well, it's great to see all this on the agenda and to be able to anticipate seeing even more on future agendas. There's a lot going on, a lot to discuss, and a lot more discussion to happen during the council meeting. And then finally, the last item that we have to talk about here is under your discussion and direction, and that is to provide direction to staff relating to Court Street reconstruction. Tell us about that.
One of our projects for this year is to redo Court Street, because we're doing Washington Avenue, and we really need to get Court Street done because the storm sewer that serves Washington Avenue is really dependent on Court Street. If you've driven Court Street, it's an extremely wide street. My best guess is that it probably had some landscape median or even some of the old streetcars from years ago. It's a much wider street than really is warranted in that area. But people are a little averse to change, and you saw that happen with Oregon Street, and ultimately council decided not to change anything. This is an even wider street than Oregon Street. It has right now angled parking, and that's not necessarily needed. So we're going to just discuss options with the council on how much we want to narrow that street in order to accommodate the needs in the area, but it doesn't need to be that wide for traffic, so council's just going to give us direction.
Great. That covers all of the items that we were going to discuss today, Mark. So as always, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's been a pleasure.
Again, the Common Council meeting is this Tuesday, January 9th at 6 p.m. You can watch it live on GovTV and on our website at oshkoshmedia.org, or you can listen to it on 101.9 Oshkosh FM, which is also online on our website and on the TuneIn Radio app for mobile devices. Make sure you like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter for all of your community and government programming and updates, or be sure to check out our YouTube channel for government meeting replays and past episodes of some of your favorite programs. And don't forget, if you have a question for City Manager Mark Rohloff, send it to us on Twitter at City of Oshkosh, post it on our Facebook page, or email it to us, and he'll answer it on the next episode of City Manager's Report. And as always, thank you very much for joining us today, and we'll see you next time on CMR.